Happy 1st of December, everybody. Seems like a really appropriate time, being the month for Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all those family celebrations coming up, to talk about family patterning and the blocks and the limitations and the things that come up within families that are mostly subconscious. But if we have any awareness at all and any spiritual practices in our life, we would be more aware of cycles of how we interact with our family members. It's come to my attention with different conversations with various people, just how many families, probably all families, have dysfunction. It's just, you do the best you can in the moment when you're raising your children. And, that's just how it is. But at some point, the adult children, even if they've been slighted as children and not given the things that they needed to nurture them, have to take responsibility and say, okay, I have to heal this. I have to heal the wounds that I feel when one of my parents or somebody in the family doesn't act the way that I feel that they should, and take responsibility for that and begin to heal it instead of having the same thing cycle around and around, because it's really devastating. It can be very harsh to the other family members because it's hurtful to them. And ultimately, if we are pointing fingers at somebody in the family for something we're experiencing, we're hurting ourselves. We're cutting ourselves off. We're cutting our own heart off. And I think when we're in so much pain, we refuse to see it. We get angry and we say, it's not me, it's them. But you know what? Ultimately, we are divine mirrors of each other. That's just how life works, And I really, really hope that people figure it out and stop, especially at this holiday season, this holy day season. It's never a good time, but really, this is a time of forgiveness and peace and joy and remembering our divinity. And I would ask anybody that's got even a hint of awareness to stop and look at your own stuff. I mean, for me, my dad just passed like a week and a half ago, and the patterning between my parents, the dismissive, avoidant mother, who would get love when she wanted and push it away when it made her feel uncomfortable because that's her own wounding from childhood, drew in a partner who was like anxious, like my dad, because his mother did the same thing. His mother was his wife. There was that energetic, I'm not saying they didn't have love, they were together for 61 years, of course they did, but there was a very, very codependent dynamic between them of this dismissive, anxious attachment, which really led me to start to work on my own patterning. And actually it's interesting because they raised me, but my best friend's mom across the street really was like my mother. And she's a very strong Scottish-German woman, born in America, but from German immigrants and Scots, and completely different character than my dismissive mother. So I took my test. You can go online, you can take tests to see what your attachment style is, whether you're dismissive avoidant, anxious attachment, fearful avoidant, or secure. And I came up mostly secure, with a little bit of anxious and a tiny bit of preoccupied. So it's interesting, But when I started to look at my parents more over the past 2 years, I'm like, wow, that is a twisted dynamic, man, on a deep psychological level that I would never want to deal with for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do it, So I became very aware of their patterning, and I felt sorry for my dad in the end, because ultimately, whether it's patterns in this life or things that we don't ever work on, if you're in the belief system of reincarnation, you're going to have to come back and do that again, And I kept thinking, God, he didn't get it. It was about his mom. He lived his whole life like this, and now that's a lesson that his soul will have to repeat. But, it's not a horrible thing. It's just we all do it. I mean, I have 5 skip steps in astrology, meaning 5 planets squared the moon's nodes, which meant I was really excited to go forward in a past life and didn't finish stuff. And so now I have all this Plutonian deep transformational lifetime so I can take care of what I didn't do before, which is fine. But I guess what I really want to say is that I just hope that people wake up to the pain that they cause when they cut people off. It's just, there's no reason for it. If we're adults, where's the discussion? Why can we not sit down and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I, in the I statement, not you did this. I feel really hurt that when we had this agreement, I don't feel like it was met, and let the person come to you, whatever that was about. Or we had this, fight, and it really upset me that you spoke to me in that manner, and try to work it out instead of this crazy, cyclical, very immature, very emotionally constipated way of handling things that people just do. It's just, the one good thing I will say is that there's so much awareness now around conscious partnership, balanced masculine and feminine, that more couples now are actually doing their inner work individually and then together before they have children. So that Jason Gaddis and his wife, they're just one example that they're doing, and it doesn't mean they don't have issues, but they're doing their work and they're raising their children consciously to speak to each other when they're upset and to work through things instead of going through the cyclical patterns that we've all held. And in the DNA, we hold 7 generations of our ancestors' shit. Their emotional funk, their rigid belief systems, their fears. That's in the DNA. It's time to clear it. 2020, the year of clear vision. If there's one thing 2020 really has shown us, what's really important, and to sit with ourselves. We've all been locked into place, and I don't feel like it's so much an outer thing. I think humanity kind of on some level chose this so that we could do a reset. So reset that old crap that doesn't work anymore. Seriously. Let's step into 2021 with compassion and forgiveness in our hearts, mostly forgiving ourselves for acting like little brats, right? But forgiving the people in our lives that we feel wronged us, whether it was justified or not. Because remember that most people, unless they were severely abusive, did the best they could with what they had to work with. And I hope you'll take the rest of this holy month and remember that and really try to shift yourself. No more playing it small, people. We are rising up, and it's time just to open our hearts fully. Sending you lots of love from cold Florida.